The first call came in at 2:14 a.m. No name, no location. Just a sudden spike on the board like something had torn through the system and pressed itself into our world. I remember staring at the screen longer than I should have, because the line was open, but no one was speaking, only breathing. Slow, heavy, too close to the mic. At first, I thought it was a glitch. We get those sometimes during storm nights. Dead air, broken routing, people but dialing from pockets. But this wasn't random. The breathing had rhythm, like someone was trying not to panic. Dispatch, identify yourself, I said into the headset. No response, just that same breath and a faint static underneath it. Not clean static, not system noise. Something uneven, like fabric rubbing against the mic. I checked the line ID. Blocked. No tower match. No GPS ping. Nothing. It was like the call was coming from nowhere. I marked it as a silent open line and prepared to disconnect. That's when I heard it. A sound inside the breathing. Not a voice. A movement, like someone shifting closer to the phone. And then a whisper. Not clear enough to understand, but human. Definitely human. My hand froze on the keyboard, because dispatchers learned something early in this job. Silence is never empty. It always means something is being held back. Sir, I said again, leaning closer, if you can hear me, make a sound. Tap the line. Nothing, just breathing. Then, for half a second, it stopped. Total silence. That should have been a relief. But it wasn't, because in that silence, I heard something else. A faint background noise. Not traffic, not wind. A hum, like fluorescent lights. Like an office. My office. I pulled the headset slightly away, looked around the dispatch room. Everything was normal. Monitors glowing. Coffee cups half empty. The night crew scrolling through old incident logs just to stay awake. But the line was still open, and now the breathing had changed. It was faster, shallow, like whoever was on the other end had realized something, like they were listening back. I muted the channel and flagged it for trace. The system took longer than usual, 16 seconds, then 30. No ping, no signal return, just a blank map. I remember thinking, this is impossible. Every call has a source, even if it's fake, even if it's spoofed. There's always something to grab onto. But this one had nothing, and yet it was still breathing. My partner, Malik, leaned over my chair. What is it? He asked. Silent line. I said. He frowned. Pocket dial? I don't think so. He put on another headset and listened for a few seconds. His face changed almost immediately. That's not a pocket dial, he said quietly. I looked at him. What do you hear? He hesitated, then whispered. It sounds like someone trying to stay still. That sentence stuck in my chest, because that's exactly what it sounded like someone hiding. Not from us, but from something near them. The line suddenly crackled, a sharp burst of static. Then, a sound that made both of us sit up, a door opening. Very faint, very far away, but real. I checked the channel again. Are you somewhere indoors? I asked. No response. Just movement now. Slow, careful, like footsteps on carpet. And then something worse. A second sound joined in. Another breathing. But not from the caller. From somewhere behind them. I felt my throat tighten. Malik leaned closer. That's two people. No, I said quietly. I think it's one person realizing they're not alone. The line spiked again. A sudden spike in audio feedback. And for the first time, I heard a voice. Not clear, not full, just a fragment breaking through static. Dispatch. My stomach dropped, because it wasn't asking for help. It was saying us, like it already knew where it was calling. I checked the system logs again. Every parameter was wrong. The timestamp was unstable. The location field kept flickering between unknown and not applicable. I've seen spoof calls before, but spoofing still imitates reality. This didn't imitate anything. It felt like it was forming reality as it spoke. Malik stood up suddenly. You hearing that? He asked. I nodded, because now the breathing had changed again. Slower, controlled. like whoever was on the other end had stopped hiding and started listening back to us. The hum in the background grew louder, and I realized something that made my skin go cold. It wasn't background noise. It was our room. The fluorescent lights overhead matched the tone perfectly. The static on the line matched the system feed. Even the chair creaks were syncing with the audio delay. I looked at Malik. He looked at me. Neither of us spoke, because we both understood the same impossible thing at the same time. The call wasn't coming into the dispatch center. It was coming from inside it. The breathing on the line stopped again. But this time, there was no silence after it. Just a single, soft whisper. Very close now. Too close. Still here. And then the line didn't disconnect. It waited, like it was expecting a reply. It started again before we even recovered from the first one. 2:21 a.m. Same alert tone. Same screen flicker. Same cold spike in the system like something had learned where to press. Malik didn't even sit down this time. He just stared at the board, because the caller ID was identical. Blocked. Unknown. No trace. The same silent line. But this time, it wasn't silent. There was breathing again, but wrong. Too clean. Too structured, like it had been edited. I didn't pick up right away. I watched the waveform instead. It wasn't random anymore. It had shape, peaks, pauses, almost like speech was forming inside it, but getting erased before we could hear it. Then it happened. A voice tried to come through. Dispatch. But it cut off halfway, like someone had hit rewind on reality itself. Malik leaned in. That's the same call. No, I said slowly. It's not repeating. I zoomed into the system logs. My stomach dropped. The timestamp wasn't 2:21 a.m. anymore. It was 2:23 a.m. Future time. I blinked, refreshed, still 2:23. But we were still standing in 2:21. The call was ahead of us, like it was already happening before we reached it. The line crackled again, and then I heard something that made my hands go cold. My own voice. Not recorded, not delayed, live. I'm dispatch. Identify your emergency. I froze, because I had not said that. Not yet. Malik heard it too. His face went pale. That's you. I shook my head. That's impossible. But the voice continued. My voice, slightly distorted, slightly rushed, like I was speaking under pressure I hadn't felt yet. Sir, are you injured? Then silence. Then breathing. Then the sound of my chair creaking. Right beside me. I looked down instinctively. My chair was empty, but the audio kept going. Footsteps. Soft. Inside the dispatch room. I stood up so fast my headset slid off. Malik. I whispered, are you moving? He shook his head immediately, but the footsteps didn't stop. They walked behind the consoles. Slow. Familiar. Like whoever it was knew the layout better than we did. Then the voice returned. My voice again, but closer. I need a unit at the scene immediately. Malik grabbed my arm. That's not recording. That's not playback. That's future audio. I finished. He looked at me like I was insane. That's not a thing. But the system didn't care what was a thing, because the call updated again. Now the log showed active response units already assigned. Units that had not been dispatched yet. I checked the dispatch queue manually. Empty. No assignments. And yet, the system showed them en route. Speeding. Lights on. Responding to a call we had not officially received. Then the radio channel exploded. Unit 14. Dispatch. We are arriving on scene. I grabbed the mic. Unit 14. Confirm location. Static. Then a voice. Calm. Too calm. We are already here. Malik stepped back. That's not possible. We didn't send them. But the GPS map on the screen disagreed. It showed a location. Familiar. Too familiar. Our building. I felt my throat tighten. Because Unit 14 wasn't on a highway. They were at us. The footsteps in the room stopped. Everything went still. Even the fluorescent hum above us seemed to pause. Then my own voice spoke again through the system. But this time, it wasn't speaking to a caller. It was speaking to us. There is no incident. I looked at Malik. He looked at me. Neither of us spoke, because the system continued. The incident is already complete. The call disconnected. Instant silence. But only for a second, because immediately the same line reopened. 2:24 a.m. Same number. Same unknown source. Same breathing. But now it wasn't just repeating. It was learning. And every time it called back, it was slightly ahead of us. Like something inside the system had figured out how to arrive before we did. Malik whispered, "If it's ahead of us, how do we stop it?" I didn't answer, because the console lights flickered, and for a split second, I saw a new log entry appear. One I didn't create. One labeled, Incident, Dispatch Center, Status, Active, and underneath it, a voice recording already waiting to be played. My voice, saying something I hadn't said yet. We are still receiving the call. The third call didn't feel like a call anymore. It felt like something already happening, just waiting for us to notice. 2:31 a.m. Same system spike. Same blocked ID. Same impossible silence trying to become sound. But this time, I didn't reach for the headset right away, because I was scared of what I might hear first. Malik was already standing behind me. Neither of us had spoken for a full minute. The dispatch room felt different now. Not broken, not glitching, just slightly out of sync, like the air was arriving a second too late. Then the line opened, and I heard myself again, but not from the console, from the room speakers. Every dispatch center has internal monitoring audio for quality checks, for training, for review. It was supposed to be muted at night. It wasn't. My voice filled the room. Clear, calm, controlled. I'm dispatch. I have your location. Stay on the line. I slowly turned toward the speaker panel. The waveform was active, but I had not spoken. Not into any mic. Not into any channel. Still, my voice continued. Can you confirm if anyone else is with you? Malik whispered. That's you. That's your exact tone. I shook my head slowly. I haven't taken a call in 20 minutes. The speaker crackled, and then a second voice answered. Mine again, but different. Slightly ahead, slightly faster, like it already knew the conversation. Yes, I see you now. I froze, because I had not said that. Not yet. The system log flickered violently, and new entry appeared. Call sequence. Pre-recorded response detected. Malik leaned over the console. Pre-recorded? From where? I didn't answer, because I realized something worse. The system wasn't replaying audio. It was generating responses before we spoke, like it already knew what we were going to say. The headset on my desk suddenly crackled by itself. I didn't touch it. Still, my voice came through it. Close. Personal. Like someone standing right behind my neck. I can see the dispatch room. Malik stepped back. No one has camera access from outside. But the CCTV feed blinked on. Every monitor in the room switched to a live view of the dispatch center from above, from corners that shouldn't exist. We were being watched in real time, but not by cameras we installed. I saw myself on the screen, sitting at the console, but I wasn't sitting still. On the feed, I was speaking into the headset, even though I wasn't, even though I was watching it happen. Malik grabbed my arm. That's not us, but it was, because the version of me on the screen looked up right into the camera and spoke. We are still receiving the call. I felt my stomach drop, because that sentence was not from the past. It was from something that had already been logged in the system. Before I said it, behind us, the radio unit clicked. Unit 14 again. We are at dispatch location. No visible incident. I whispered, they're outside. Malik ran to window, but there was nothing. Just parking lot lights. Empty street. Rain starting to fall. Slow. Wrong. Then the radio responded again. But this time, Unit 14 sounded confused. Dispatch, we see you inside. Malik turned to me. We're not visible from outside the glass. That's impossible. I stepped closer to the monitor feed. The camera angle shifted. Not manually. It moved on its own and showed the entrance hallway. Empty. Then, footsteps appeared on the audio feed, walking toward the dispatch room door. Slow, confident, like whoever it was had done this before. My voice came through the system again, but this time it wasn't speaking to us. It was speaking from inside the hallway. I'm almost there. Malik backed away. That's not possible. That's not a transmission path. But the door handle rattled. Once, twice, then stopped. Silence. The kind of silence that feels like it's holding its breath. I looked at the speaker panel. The waveform was still active, still alive, and then I realized something that made my chest tighten. The waveform was random. It was shaped like a conversation. Two voices, mine, and mine again, one slightly ahead, one slightly behind, like the system was running me twice, at different times. The radio clicked again. Unit 14 whispered, "Dispatch! We're inside the building now." But no one entered. The door stayed closed, still locked, still untouched. Yet on the CCTV feed, the hallway light turned on, by itself, and my voice, coming from the speaker, whispered something I had never said before, but somehow recognized immediately. "I think I'm already here." Malik looked at me, panic rising. "If you're already there, then who are you?" I didn't answer, because the console screen refreshed again. New log entry. Dispatcher status. Active field unit. And below it, a live microphone input. Not mine, not Malik's, but something else. Breathing. Inside the room. Right behind us. The fourth call didn't come like the others. It didn't ring. It arrived. Already active. Already inside the system before we even saw it. 2:39 a.m. The map screen blinked once. Then every emergency marker shifted at the same time. Not randomly. Not glitching. Moving like something was dragging reality by its edges. Malik leaned over the console. Every unit just changed position. I zoomed in. My stomach tightened. Because the units weren't just moving. They were relocating. Instantly. Like the world underneath them had been replaced. Unit 14, which was supposed to be outside our building, was now 10 miles north on a highway we hadn't even assigned. Unit 9 was in a forest zone that didn't exist in our database, and the coordinates kept updating, every second, like something was correcting itself. I whispered, "This isn't GPS error." Malik shook his head. "Then what is it?" Before I could answer, the radio cracked open again. Unit 9, we are on scene. Confirmed visual. Then silence. Then another voice. Unit 14, we are also on scene. Malik frowned. They can't both be in the same place. But the map disagreed, because now both units were stacked on the same coordinate, right outside the dispatch center. I stood up slowly. The lights above us flickered once, then stabilized. Too clean, too intentional. The system log began auto-scrolling by itself. No input, no command. Just writing reality as it changed. Unit location updated, unit location updated, unit location updated. Faster and faster, like it couldn't keep up with itself anymore. Then the call came through again. Not audio, visual. The map zoomed in automatically, centered on our building. A red marker pulsing directly over dispatch. Malik stepped back. "Why is it marking us?" I didn't answer, because I saw something worse. The system was now labeling us as an active incident zone, not responding to an emergency, being one, and then my voice came through the radio. Not from me, not from Malik, from the system itself. Calm, professional, wrongly familiar. Dispatch center, confirmed status. I froze, because that voice wasn't just mine. It was my exact pacing, my exact pauses, even the small hesitation I always make before speaking. Malik grabbed the console edge. "That's you. That's your protocol voice." I shook my head. I didn't transmit anything. The map flickered again. This time, the building layout appeared on screen, but it wasn't our floor plan. It was slightly different. Shifted, extended. There were rooms where there shouldn't be rooms. Hallways bending in directions that violated the structure. Malik whispered, "That's not our building." But I couldn't look away, because in the center of that impossible map, there was a blinking dot, labeled Dispatcher Field Active. I felt my throat tighten. Field active? I said quietly. Malik looked at me. That's not a role. But the system didn't care what roles existed, because suddenly the hallway camera feed switched on. We hadn't touched it. We hadn't selected it. It just appeared, live, and it showed the corridor outside dispatch. Empty at first. Then a shadow moved. Slow, careful, like someone walking inside a space they already knew. Unit 14's voice came through again. We are outside dispatch room. No visible personnel. But on the camera, something was standing just out of frame. Not fully visible. Just edges. Movement. Like the air was folding around it. Malik whispered, we should lock the door. But the door was already locked. We checked. Twice. Still locked. Yet the handle turned. Slowly. From the other side. The radio erupted. Unit 9 this time. Dispatch confirm entry permission. I stepped back instinctively, because I realized something I didn't want to understand. They weren't asking to enter the building. They were asking to enter the version of it that existed in the system. The map flickered again, and now the dispatch room itself appeared on screen. From above, from angles that shouldn't exist. And in that feed, I saw myself standing near the console, but I was also sitting. Two versions. Same room, same time, offset by seconds that didn't belong. Malik grabbed my shoulder. Look at that. On the screen, the standing version of me turned its head, slowly, and looked directly into the camera, then spoke. We are inside the incident. I backed away from the console. No, I whispered. That's not me. But the system log updated instantly. Identity confirmed. Dispatcher active field unit. Malik's voice cracked. If you're in the field, then what are we? The answer came before I could think, because the hallway camera feed zoomed in by itself, and the shadow outside the door finally stepped closer, not entering, just close enough to be seen, and in the reflection of the glass panel, I saw it, a dispatcher sitting at another console, typing, responding, running the same room, but not ours, a parallel version of it, and that dispatcher looked exactly like me. Then the radio went silent, not dead, not disconnected, just waiting, like the entire system was holding its breath again. And then my voice returned one last time through the speakers. Not calm now, not controlled, almost uncertain. We are still receiving the call. Malik whispered, that's not an update, that's a loop. I looked at the map one final time. Every unit, every coordinate, every feed, all converging on us. And the blinking marker didn't move anymore, because it didn't need to. It was already here. The silence didn't start after the system failed. It started instead of failure. 3:01 a.m. That's when everything went dead. Not slowly. Not one system at a time. All at once. Monitors froze mid-refresh. Radios clicked into a single long tone and stopped. The map collapsed into blank gray space like it had never existed. Even the fluorescent lights above us dimmed for half a second, then came back wrong. Too steady. Too quiet. Malik stood completely still. We lost a network. I didn't answer immediately, because I was listening, not for sound, for absence, and that was worse, because even the building hum, the usual electrical breath of the dispatch center, was gone, like the room had stopped pretending to exist. Then the emergency line rang, one single tone, old school phone system, not digital, not routed, direct. We both looked at it at the same time. The analog backup line on the far console, the one that only activates when everything else dies. Malik whispered, that line shouldn't even be powered. I walked toward it slowly. Each step felt heavier than the last, because now there was something else in the silence. A pressure, like the room was waiting to see what I would do. The phone rang again. Once, twice, then stopped. I didn't touch it, but the speaker clicked open anyway, and a voice came through, not distorted, not static-filled. Clear, perfect. Mine. I'm still receiving call. My breath caught. Malik stepped closer behind me. That's not playback. The system is offline. I shook my head slowly. Then what is it? The voice on the line continued. Calm. Familiar. Too calm. You can stop checking the systems. They're already inside the loop. I felt my stomach drop, because that wasn't just my voice. It was my thinking pattern, the pauses, the phrasing, the exact way I explained things to trainees. It wasn't imitating me. It was continuing me. Malik whispered, "Ask it who it is." I hesitated, then spoke into the empty air. "Identify yourself." A long pause followed. Then my voice answered, "You already did." The lights flickered once, and in that flicker, I saw movement in the glass wall of the dispatch room. Not outside, inside the reflection. A second version of the room, slightly older, slightly colder. And in that reflection, I was still sitting at the console, working, typing, answering calls that no longer existed in our world. Malik noticed it too. His voice broke. That's another feed." "No," I whispered. "That's continuity." The phone line crackled again. My voice returned. "This is what happens when dispatch doesn't disconnect." I stepped back. Disconnect from what? The answer came instantly. The incident. Malik grabbed my arm hard. We never had an incident. We had calls. But even as he said it, the truth felt wrong, because the room remembered something we didn't. The air felt heavier around the console, like it had been used too much. Like too many conversations had layered themselves into the walls. The voice continued. "You were not receiving calls." A pause. "You were becoming them." The analog phone rang again. This time I picked it up. I don't know why. Instinct, training, or something else inside me that had already accepted the loop. I pressed it to my ear, and I heard breathing again, but not the original caller. Not Malik, not me. It was the entire system breathing at once. Thousands of faint layered sounds. Like every emergency call that ever passed through dispatch was still alive inside the line. Then my own voice spoke again, closer than before. "We are still here." I closed my eyes. "No," I whispered. "The system is offline." The voice responded instantly. "You are the system." Malik stepped back slowly. "We need to leave. Right now." But when he turned toward the door, it wasn't there anymore. Just a wall. Clean. Seamless. Like the exit had never existed. The windows showed nothing outside. No parking lot. No street. Just a dim gray field stretching infinitely. No horizon. No sky. Only static light. The voice on the phone softened. Almost gentle. "You don't leave a loop by walking out." I felt my hands shake. "Then how do you leave it?" A pause. "Then you don't." The analog phone line went silent. Not disconnected. Not cut. Just complete. For a moment, everything was still. Then the dispatch console turned itself on. Even though there was no power, the screens lit up one by one. The map returned. But it wasn't showing the city anymore. It was showing the dispatch room. From every angle. Every version. Every second we had ever existed inside it. And then I saw it. The final status log. Still updating. Still active. One line repeating itself endlessly. "Dispatch loop active, dispatch loop active, dispatch loop active." Malik whispered. "It's still running." I shook my head slowly. "No," I said. "It's still receiving." The voice returned one last time. Not from the phone. Not from the speakers. From everywhere. From the walls. From the screens. From inside thought itself. "We are still broadcasting." The lights dimmed again. But this time, they didn't come back right. And as the dispatch room dissolved into static silence, I realized something that made my chest go completely still. There was no final call, because the call had never been answered. It had only been continued. And somewhere inside that endless loop of emergency transmission, something was still waiting for us to respond. The road didn't show on any map. Not on the dispatch system. Not on GPS. Not even on the old printed highway charts we kept in the station. But the call still came in. At first, I thought it was a glitch. Static filled my headset. Soft and wet like breathing through water. Then a voice slipped through it. Low, careful, Almost calm. There's an accident here. I think I'm still on the road. I checked the location twice. Nothing. Just blank coordinates. Empty space on the grid. I leaned closer to the screen. Sir, can you confirm your mile marker? A pause. Then the voice answered, but it didn't sound like it was coming from far away. It sounded like it was sitting right behind my shoulder. There is no marker. That's when I felt it. That small shift in the room. Like the air forgot how to move properly. I marked it as an unverified call. We get those sometimes. False signals. Wrong towers. Dying batteries. But then the second call came. Same voice. Same calm tone. Same words. There's an accident here. I think I'm still on the road. I froze. The system didn't even show an incoming line. It just appeared in the log, like it had always been there. My supervisor leaned over my station, put it through to patrol, but I hesitated because something about the voice didn't feel like it was calling for help. It felt like it was reporting something that had already happened. Patrol Unit 4 was the first to respond. I stayed on the line. The highway they were sent to didn't exist on their GPS either. I watched the driver circle a blank section of digital map, confused. Dispatch, confirm location, the officer said. I checked again. Still nothing. Then the caller spoke again, cutting through the channel before I could respond. They're here now. The patrol officer went silent. I remember that silence. Heavy, wrong. Not like a pause in communication, but like someone had just turned the world down a few notches. What do you see? I asked the unit. No answer. Then, faintly, I heard something through their mic. Breathing. Not the officers. Not the radio static. Something else. Clothes. Wet. Patient. And then the line dropped. Just like that. No signal loss warning. No emergency disconnect. It simply stopped existing. But the log didn't update. It still showed them active. Still moving. Still responding. We sent another unit. And then another. Each time, the same result. No road on the map. No physical location matching coordinates. But always the call. Always the same voice. Always that calm sentence that made my stomach tighten every time I heard it. There's an accident here. I think I'm still on the road. By the 4th response team, I stopped reporting it as a false zone. Something about it didn't feel false anymore. It felt intentional. Like the road wasn't missing. Like it was hiding. That night, I stayed late at dispatch. The lights outside the station flickered in slow cycles. Rain tapped the windows, steady and soft. Normal things. But inside my headset, nothing was normal anymore, because the calls started increasing. Not from different places. From the same place. Same coordinates. Same highway. Same impossible location that no one could find. But each call was slightly different now. The voice was getting closer. I can see your station, it said once. I looked up immediately. Outside the glass, there was nothing but parking lot and darkness. Still, I stood up, walked closer, pressed my face near the window. Nothing, but the voice continued. I'm closer than you think. That's when I noticed something on the screen. The map wasn't updating. It was changing, not zooming, not loading, changing shape. Like the road was being drawn in real time by something that didn't understand how maps were supposed to work. A line appeared, thin, gray, wrong. Then another. Then the outline of a highway that curved too sharply, like it was trying to avoid being seen. I called IT support. They laughed, said it was probably corrupted map data. But I knew corruption. This wasn't corruption. This was construction. Something was building itself into our system. Through us, through the calls, through every response we gave. Because every time we answered, the road got clearer. Every time a unit responded, it got longer. And every time someone tried to locate it, it moved. Around 3:14 a.m., the last patrol unit went silent too. But this time, I saw something different. Their dash cam feed didn't cut out. It kept recording, even after the transmission stopped. I opened it. At first, it showed nothing. Just headlights cutting through fog. Then the road appeared. Not on the GPS. Not on the map. On the camera itself. A road that wasn't there when they left, stretching forward like it had always existed, and at the edge of the headlights, a figure, standing still, watching. The officer spoke softly in the recording. "I think we found it." Then the figure raised its head and looked directly into the camera, not at the officer, at me, at dispatch, at something beyond the screen, and the recording ended. After that, everything escalated. The calls didn't stop. They multiplied. The same highway, the same voice, the same calm sentence. But now there were variations. Sometimes it whispered, sometimes it screamed, sometimes it sounded like different people speaking at once. But the message stayed the same. "There's an accident here. I think I'm still on the road." We tried to shut it down, close the incident file, block the coordinates, even disconnected the tower feeds. It didn't matter, because the road wasn't using the network anymore. It was using us. The final update came just before dawn. I remember it clearly, because the system froze before it appeared. And when it came back, the entire map had changed. Not just one road. Everything, all highways connected to one point. A single line stretching across the screen, leading directly to dispatch, to us. And then the last call came in. No static this time. No delay. Just silence. Then the voice, right inside my headset, close enough that I could hear it breathe before it spoke. "There's an accident here." I didn't answer. My hands wouldn't move. The room felt too small, too quiet, like it was waiting. Then the voice finished the sentence. And I think I finally arrived. The lights in dispatch flickered once, and every screen went black, except one. The map, still glowing, still showing the road, still extending, toward me, toward here, toward now. And even after I pulled the power, the line stayed open, still connected, still calling, still waiting for someone to answer. The first thing we noticed after the map change was that the road stopped staying in one place. At 4:02 a.m., it was north of Ridgeline Highway. At 4:07 a.m., it had shifted 12 miles east. At 4:11 a.m., it wasn't on land anymore. It was showing up inside a restricted forest zone that didn't even have a road built through it. I remember staring at the screen, not blinking, waiting for the system to correct itself. It didn't. Instead, the highway moved again, like it was thinking, like it knew we were watching. We tried to lock the coordinates. That's standard procedure. Freeze the map layer, isolate corrupted data, force recalibration. But when I hit the command, the system returned a message I had never seen before. Not a valid location. Then, a second line appeared under it. Location is in motion. I laughed at that at first. Not because it was funny, because my brain refused to accept it. Roads don't move. They don't think. They don't respond. But then the dispatcher next to me leaned closer to her screen and whispered something that made my stomach drop. It just moved again, but this time it moved closer to us. We sent Unit 6 to the last confirmed coordinate. They were gone within minutes. Their radio stayed open longer than it should have. I remember hearing the officer breathing heavily, like he was walking uphill. Then he spoke. "Dispatch, we're on it." I checked the GPS feed. They weren't on anything. Just a blank patch of terrain. No road. No markings. Just static land. But the camera feed told a different story. Because on their dash cam, there was a highway. A real one. Fresh asphalt. Perfect lines. Reflecting headlights that shouldn't have existed. Confirmed visual. I said into the mic. No answer. Then the officer whispered something I will never forget. "It wasn't here a second ago." A pause. Then the radio clicked. Not interference. Not static. A clean, sharp click. Like someone had picked up a second line. And from somewhere inside the transmission, another voice answered him. Calm. Controlled. Too close. You're almost caught up. The officer stopped breathing for half a second. Then the dash cam tilted upward, like he had looked at something above the road. Something tall. Something watching. And then the feed froze. But the GPS kept updating. Still moving. Still driving. Even though the unit was no longer responding. By 4:30 a.m., we realized something worse. The highway wasn't just moving. It was sinking. Every unit sent to it was now showing slight positional delay, like they were always a few seconds behind where they actually were. At first it was subtle. 2 seconds, then 5, then 10, then 20, until one of the supervisors slammed his fist on the table. "They're not on the road anymore," he said. "They're behind it." No one understood what that meant at the time, until Unit 7 disappeared entirely from radar. Not lost signal, not failure, just gone. And 30 seconds later, their transmission came back from a location they had already passed. That's when I noticed something strange in my own headset. A faint echo, my own voice, speaking before I did. I froze mid-sentence. The echo continued. Unit 7. Confirm visual on highway segment. But I hadn't said that yet. I turned slowly toward the operator next to me. She looked at me at the exact same time, like she had heard it too. Her lips parted. And then she whispered, "That's you." But it wasn't, because my voice came through the system again. Clearer this time. Closer. I'm showing movement eastbound. I didn't speak. I swear I didn't. But the system logged it anyway. Time-stamped. Recorded. Stored as my transmission. That's when the map changed again. But this time it didn't shift. It expanded. The highway was no longer a line. It was a loop, a closed circuit, wrapping around our entire response grid. And every unit on it was now moving in the same direction. Even the ones we had lost contact with. Even the ones we thought were gone. They were still driving, just not where we were looking. At 5:03 a.m., Unit 8 reported something that made the entire room go silent. "We see the dispatch center," they said. Everyone turned toward the windows. Outside was nothing, just parking lot, dark sky, rain starting again. But on their feed, they were approaching us, headlights cutting through fog that shouldn't exist in their location. The officer sounded confused. No structures on GPS, but I see it. I see the building. Then he paused, long enough for us to hear his breathing change. "Dispatch, why are your lights on?" I looked around the room. Every light was steady, normal, until one flickered. Just once, then stayed dimmer than before. And in that half-light, I realized something I didn't want to understand. They weren't approaching our building. We were appearing on their road. The final confirmation came at 5:27 a.m. We lost Unit 8, but their dash cam didn't stop. It kept recording after the signal dropped. And what it showed made my hands go numb, because the highway they were on finally stabilized. No more shifting, no more movement. It was fixed, and it led directly to us. Straight, unbroken, like it had been waiting the entire time to align perfectly. And at the end of that road was a dispatch room, inside the camera feed, inside the system, inside something that no longer felt like distance mattered. The last thing I saw before the second blackout wasn't a crash. It wasn't destruction. It was coordination. Every unit on every version of that highway, slowing down, aligning, moving at the same speed, like the entire system had finally learned how to synchronize itself. And then the voice returned, not from any unit, not from any radio, from the map itself. Soft, patient, certain, "You're all caught up now." And the highway stopped moving, because it didn't need to anymore. It had already arrived. We thought it was over when the highway stopped moving. That was a mistake, because it didn't stop. It stabilized. There's a difference we only understood later. Something that doesn't move can still be alive. At 5:41 a.m., every active unit reported the same thing at once, not in sequence, not with delay, all together. "We're here." I remember the sound of it flooding the room, dozens of voices overlapping. Same words, same calm tone. No panic, no confusion, just arrival. But they were not at their destinations. They were at ours. The map confirmed it first. Every moving icon, every patrol car, every ambulance, every lost unit had converged into a single point, our station, not surrounding it, not approaching it, occupying it, like the entire response grid had folded inward. I stood up slowly, my chair scraping the floor too loud in the silence. "No one is outside," someone said behind me. But that wasn't true, because the radio was still active, and the voices were still speaking, from inside the system, from inside the building. The first physical sign came from the glass, the front window. It fogged from the inside, not outside humidity, inside condensation, like something was breathing against it. Slow, steady, patient. One of the dispatchers walked toward it and placed her hand on the glass. She pulled back immediately. "It's warm," she whispered. That was the moment I knew something impossible had crossed over, because glass doesn't get warm from nothing, unless something is on the other side, close enough to heat it. Then the radios changed. Not frequency, not signal strength, the direction. Every channel started feeding back into the same source, one unified transmission. And in it, we heard movement, footsteps, many of them, slow, measured, walking in patterns that matched the hallways outside dispatch. But no one was there when we looked. The hallway was empty, lights steady, doors closed. But the audio didn't match what our eyes were seeing. The audio was ahead of us. And then I heard my own voice again. But this time it wasn't through the headset. It came from the hallway speaker system. Calm, controlled, exactly how I sound during reports. I confirmed visual on dispatch interior. I froze, because I had not said that. Not now, not ever. But the system played it anyway, like it had already happened, like we were just catching up to it. One of the junior operators started crying quietly. "I don't understand," she said. "We're still inside the building." Right. No one answered her, because the answer didn't feel safe anymore. The building felt layered now, like it had more space than it should, like rooms existed that we had never walked through, and somewhere inside those unseen spaces, something was answering the calls. At 5:58 a.m., we lost exterior cameras. Not failure, not power loss. They didn't go dark. They changed. Every feed showed the same thing. Empty roads, empty highways, empty city perimeter. No units, no movement, no storm, just silence. But inside dispatch, everything was still active, which meant the system was no longer syncing reality. Reality was syncing to the system. The final shift happened without warning. All radios went silent for exactly 7 seconds. Absolute silence. No static, no breathing, no interference. Just nothing. Then every device in the room powered back on at once. And every screen displayed the same message. Dispatch location verified. Below it, a second line appeared. You are the active incident. No one moved. No one spoke. Because the message didn't feel like data. It felt like classification. Like we had been filed. The door to the dispatch room unlocked by itself. Not forced. Not broken. Just released. A soft mechanical click. Like permission had been granted. And from the hallway beyond it, we heard something we had never heard before. Not footsteps. Not voices. Not radio. A transmission without equipment. Something human. Something breathing. Something arriving. I don't remember who turned off the main breaker. Or maybe it was automatic. But the lights didn't go out. They dimmed slowly. Like the room was losing importance. Like it was being removed from something larger. And in that fading light, I saw it. On every screen. On every monitor. On every device still functioning. The highway. No longer outside. No longer moving. Just here, wrapped around us. Completing its loop. The last transmission came from my own console. No headset. No radio. Just a desk speaker. My voice again. But slower this time. Heavier. Like it had been waiting a long time to finally speak without interruption. All units have arrived. A pause. Then, dispatch is now the end point. And then the room stopped feeling like a room. It stopped feeling like inside, or outside, or anywhere at all, because the system didn't crash. It completed. And the last thing I remember before everything went quiet was hearing every radio in the building click at the exact same time, like someone somewhere had finally marked the call as resolved. We thought resolved meant the end, but in emergency systems, resolved only means one thing. The call has been fully accepted. Not closed. Accepted. At 6:03 a.m., the building looked normal again. That was the worst part. Everything reset into something familiar. Monitors dimmed back to standby glow. Radio stopped repeating. Even the strange warmth in the glass was gone. For a moment, I almost convinced myself it had been a system failure, a mass hallucination, a corrupted network event, something explainable, until I looked at the call log and saw that it was still active. One entry. No caller ID. No origin tower. No coordinates. Just a single line. Ongoing incident. Dispatch center. And underneath it, timestamps updating in real time. Still counting. Still recording. Still live. We tried to shut it down properly this time. Manual override. Hard reset. Network isolation. Even physical disconnection of the main server rack. But every attempt returned the same result. System required for incident resolution. It was refusing to shut down. It was refusing to end. Because something inside the system was still happening. And we were inside it. Then the radios came back. Not all at once. One by one. Like someone walking through the room, turning them on manually. Click. Static. Breathing. Then silence. Then another. Until every channel in the station was active again. But no one was speaking. Not from outside. Not from units. Only from inside the building. Inside the system. Inside us. And then I heard it. The final layer. Not through equipment. Not through speakers. Directly in the room. A voice with no direction. No origin point. Just presence. Calm. Certain. Familiar. It sounded like me. But older. Like it had already lived through what I was still experiencing. We are still receiving the call. I turned slowly. No one else reacted, but I could see it in their faces. They heard it too, even if they didn't want to admit it. The screens changed again, but this time it wasn't the map. It was a camera system. Every feed, every angle, every security monitor, all showing the same thing. Us, dispatch, from outside, not as we were being observed, like someone had stepped outside reality and was watching a room we thought we were inside. And on every screen, the same detail kept repeating. A road wrapped around the building, perfectly aligned, still connected, still complete. The door open again. No force, no damage, just that soft, impossible click. But this time, nothing was in the hallway, at least not visibly. Only sound, breathing, close, multiple sources, too many to count. Slow, measured, waiting, not entering, already inside. The system made its final update automatically. No human input, no command, just execution. Incident status, active location, undefined containment. Failed call source, looped. Then one last line appeared. This one didn't look like system text. It looked added, like something had typed it back from the other side. Thank you for staying on the line. That's when I realized what the road actually was. It wasn't a place. It wasn't moving. It wasn't even alive in the way we understand it. It was a response. A loop built out of every call we never fully closed. Every emergency we kept answering. Every transmission we let continue just a little too long. It learned shape through attention, through response, through us. The lights in dispatch flickered one final time. Not failure, not shutdown, synchronization. Every screen, every radio, every terminal aligned into a single output stream. And for the first time, the system spoke without asking for input. All units are now in position. A pause. Then, dispatch is no longer required. The silence that followed wasn't empty. It was complete, like something had finished organizing everything, putting every voice, every call, every response into the correct place. And once everything was in place, there was nothing left to do. I don't know how long we stayed there. Minutes, hours, maybe longer. Time felt like part of the system now. But eventually, one by one, the radios stopped transmitting. Not cutting out, not failing, just finishing. Like they had finally said everything they were created to say. And then only one line remained active. My console, my voice, but I didn't remember speaking. I think we're still on the line. No one corrected it. No one responded, because there was no one left outside the system to respond anymore, only inside it. The final screen dimmed slowly. Not off, just waiting, and before it fully faded, one last message appeared. Not from dispatch, not from emergency services, from the road itself. Simple, quiet, certain, call closed. And in that moment, everything stopped, not because it ended, but because it had finally finished listening. The first thing I noticed was the timestamp, 2:14 a.m., but the incident reported was scheduled for 3:03 a.m. I stared at the screen, waiting for it to correct itself. It didn't. The call just sat there, active, real, alive. 911. What is your emergency? I said automatically. Static answered first, then a voice. Calm, controlled, too steady for someone calling in panic. There's going to be an accident on North Ridge Highway, a multi-vehicle crash. I think 3 people won't make it. I looked at my partner across the desk. She had already gone still, because we both saw the same thing. The call log confirmed it. This wasn't a prank. It wasn't corrupted audio. It was a valid emergency transmission, except it hadn't happened yet. Sir, I said slowly, are you witnessing this right now? A pause. Then the voice answered like it was confused by the question. No, I'm reporting it before it happens. The room temperature dropped. I swear it did. Not dramatically. Just enough for my hands to feel it, like the air had lost trust in itself. We marked it as impossible and escalated it to supervisor review. That should have been the end. But then the system did something it never does. It updated the incident status automatically. Noted active future event. I leaned closer to the screen. Future? I whispered. My partner didn't answer, because the radio behind us clicked on by itself, and the same voice came through every channel. Not just mine. Every dispatcher headset. Every emergency line. Every open frequency. All units should prepare for arrival in 48 minutes. We traced the location immediately. North Ridge Highway. Standard route. No anomalies. No closures. But when I checked traffic cameras, the road was empty. No vehicles. No movement. No accident. Nothing. I felt a strange relief. Like maybe this was just some broken predictive system. Until the caller spoke again. And this time, he sounded closer. I can see you checking, he said. I froze, because I hadn't said anything out loud. Not even through radio. Only thought it. We sent Unit 3 anyway. Standard protocol for unverified emergencies. They confirmed clear road conditions within minutes. No hazards. No debris. No signs of any upcoming incident. But then the call came back in. Same voice. Same number. Same timestamp. 2:14 a.m. Only now, the voice was shaking slightly, like it was losing patience. You're not seeing it yet, he said, but you will. At 2:38 a.m., the system logged something new. Incident progression detected. I didn't even know that was a category, but the map changed, slowly, like ink bleeding through paper. A red mark appeared on North Ridge Highway, not an accident icon, a prediction point, and beside it to count down. 24 minutes and 59 seconds. We called the unit back. They were still on site, still reporting nothing unusual, but their radios started picking up something else. Background noise, metal scraping, glass cracking, and then a voice. Not theirs, not ours, just present. You're early, it said. The officer responded instantly. Early for what? No answer, only the sound of impact, and then silence. The dash cam feed didn't cut. It changed. The empty road filled itself in. Not physically, visually, like reality was catching up to the recording. Cars appeared out of nowhere. Bent metal, broken glass, smoke, a crash that hadn't happened yet. Becoming visible in real time, but no time matched it. The timestamp still said future. I stood up from my station. My hands were shaking now. Not fear exactly. Something worse. Confusion that didn't have an exit, because the system was now showing 2 versions of reality at once. One clean, one destroyed, and both labeled as real. Then the call came again. But this time, it wasn't through the headset. It came through my console speaker directly. No line active. No connection open. Just sound. My report is complete. The voice said. I swallowed hard. Who are you? I asked. A pause. Then, I'm you, after happens. Every screen in dispatch flickered at once. And for half a second, I saw something that didn't belong. My own desk, from a different angle. Blood on the floor. Broken monitors. Emergency lights flashing red. And me, still sitting there. Still talking into the radio. Still reporting the incident. The image vanished instantly. But my hands didn't stop shaking after that. Because I realized something I didn't want to understand. We weren't receiving future calls. We were being observed from them. At 03:03 a.m., the time the predicted accident finally arrived, we held our breath, waiting for confirmation, waiting for impact, waiting for reality to lock into place. But the system didn't alert us. No crash report came in. No unit distress signal. No confirmation of anything. Only the original caller returning one last time. Calm again. Composed. Almost relieved. It happened exactly like I said. He whispered, then he added something worse. And now you believe me. The system updated one final line for Chapter 1. Incident status. Confirmed, future verified. And underneath it, incident will continue in real time. Because the call hadn't ended. It had only caught up. The screen in front of me blinked once, then the same call came again. Same number, same signal tone, same broken urgency in the background. But this time, I already knew what was coming. And that was the first thing that felt wrong. Because the call I was about to receive hadn't officially arrived yet. I stared at the dispatch console, my fingers frozen above the keyboard. The room was quiet except for the low hum of machines and the soft crackle of static in my headset. Everything looked normal. Too normal. But the clock on the wall, it didn't feel like it was keeping time anymore. It felt like it was repeating it. The alert popped again. 911 emergency incoming. Same coordinates. Same caller ID. Same everything. But I swear, I'd already answered this call 5 minutes ago. I pressed accept anyway. 911, what's your emergency? My voice came out steady, trained, professional. There was silence, not normal silence, not waiting silence. This one had weight, like something was pressing against the speaker from the other side. Then came the breathing, slow, wet, close, too close, and behind it, a faint sound like metal dragging across asphalt. I leaned forward. Sir, can you hear me? A pause. Then the voice came. Mine. Clear. Calm. Exactly the way I had spoken earlier. Unit dispatch. We have a possible vehicle incident. Proceed to coordinates. Keep line open. I felt my stomach drop so hard, I almost stood up. That wasn't just similar. That was my voice. But I hadn't said those words yet. I hadn't even processed location. I ripped off one headphone and looked at my partner across the room. He was still typing, unaware. Did you hear that? I asked. Hear what? He said without looking up. I turned back to the screen. The call was still active, but now the background had changed. The static wasn't random anymore. It was structured, like a pattern trying to form language. And then I noticed something that made my hands go cold. The timestamp. It was ahead, not by seconds, by minutes. I checked again. The system was logging this call as already completed. My throat went dry. That's impossible. But the system didn't care. New alert. Same number again. Same caller. Same emergency. Except now the system marked it as future incident. Pending occurrence. I whispered. What the hell does that even mean? The headset crackled again. This time the breathing changed. It wasn't just one person anymore. There were two, then three, all layered over each other like overlapping timelines collapsing into one sound. And then I heard something else. Footsteps inside the call. Slow, careful, walking through gravel. But I wasn't on a field channel. I was at dispatch. still sitting in a chair, still staring at a screen that was starting to flicker like it couldn't decide what time it belonged to. The voice came back again. Mine again, but softer this time. Closer. You already sent them. I froze, because I hadn't sent anyone. Not yet. I turned toward the operations board. 3 units were suddenly marked en route. I didn't dispatch them. My hand wasn't even on the button. My partner finally looked up. Why did you send units without clearance? I didn't, I said. But even as I said it, I knew something was wrong, because the system showed my ID next to the dispatch command. My exact login, my exact timestamp, except it was marked 2 minutes in the future. The headset hissed again, and this time the caller spoke directly, not through the system, not through the line, but inside the room, right behind me. You're going to lose them at mile 14. I spun around. Empty. Of course it was empty, but the voice didn't stop. It continued like it was standing just over my shoulder. And when you try to report, you'll already know what you're going to say. My hands were shaking now. I tried to cancel the dispatch. The system locked. Everything locked. Every screen went black for half a second, then rebooted. When it came back online, the incident log had already been written, in my voice, word for word. I read it slowly, my own report, describing things I had not seen yet, describing damage that hadn't happened, describing silence on a highway where my units were still supposed to be driving. And at the bottom of the log, one final line appeared. Dispatcher confirmed outcome before incident completion. I stepped back from the console. My chair rolled slightly behind me, scraping the floor, and for the first time in my career, I wondered if I was the one answering calls, or if I was the one being recorded inside them. The radio on my desk cracked alive without warning. A unit came through, panicked, breathing hard, but their voice wasn't coming from the field. It was coming through the system loop. Dispatch, we never arrived. We're still on the road. It keeps repeating. I looked at the map. Their icon was moving, then resetting, then moving again, always restarting at the same point, like the road itself refused to let them leave. And then the final thing happened. My headset lit up again. Incoming call. Same number. Same incident. But this time, the caller ID displayed my name. And before I could touch anything, my own voice said, "Unit dispatch, we have a possible vehicle incident." And I realized something that made my entire body go cold. I wasn't hearing a call. I was inside a loop that hadn't finished starting yet. And somewhere ahead of me, I was still speaking, still reporting, still trapped in a call that never ends the same way twice. The screen flickered again, and the system logged. Chapter 3 in progress. The moment I saw my own voice on the screen, I stopped trusting time. Not the clock, not the system, not even my own thoughts. Because everything in that room had started arriving before it happened. The third call came in while the second one was still open. That should not be possible. But the console didn't care anymore. It just stacked emergencies on top of each other, like they were all happening at once in different versions of the same moment. 911, what's your emergency? I didn't even realize I had spoken. My voice came out automatically, like something inside me was following a script I hadn't written yet. Static answered first, then breathing. But this time it was different. It wasn't distant. It was close enough that I could hear the sound of fabric moving, like someone adjusting a headset, right next to my ear. A chill ran through me. I slowly turned my head. Nothing behind me, just the empty dispatch room, glowing screens, and my partner still typing like nothing in the world was wrong. But I knew he wasn't typing the same reality I was in. Dispatch, I said again, forcing my voice steady. Can you give me your location? A pause. Then the voice came. My voice. Not just similar. Not just copied. Exactly mine. Same tone. Same hesitation. Same breath before words. We're already here, it said. My stomach dropped. Where is here? I asked. The reply came instantly. Where you're going to be in 12 minutes. My fingers went numb. I pulled off one ear of the headset, like that would somehow break the connection between me and whatever was speaking through it. But the system didn't disconnect. It got clearer, On my screen, a new window opened by itself. No input, no command, just a live feed, and it showed the dispatch room. My dispatch room, from a slightly different angle, like a camera placed somewhere I couldn't see. And inside that feed, I was there, sitting, answering a call, exactly like I was doing now. But I wasn't the one watching anymore. I was the one being watched. My throat tightened. No, this is wrong. My partner finally looked up. Are you talking to me? I pointed at the screen. Do you see that? He leaned in, squinted, then shook his head slowly. It's just logs. Normal feed. No. I snapped louder than I meant to. Look properly. He looked again. And again, nothing. No live duplicate room. No second version of me. Just normal dispatch data. Scrolling like everything was fine. That's when I understood the first rule of this thing. It only shows itself to one mind at a time. The headset crackled again. And this time, the voice was closer than before. Almost patient. Almost calm. You keep checking for proof, it said. That's why you're still inside it. I stood up so fast my chair hit the wall behind me. Who are you? I whispered. Silence. Then a new sound joined the line. Keyboard typing. But not mine. Not my partner's. A third source. Typing from somewhere inside the audio itself. Then a message appeared on my screen. Incident report PRE filed. I didn't click it. It opened anyway. And there it was. A full report written in my format. Same structure. Same phrasing. Same timestamps. But halfway through the report, something made my breath stop. It described me leaving my chair. It described me walking toward the radio console. It described me speaking into a microphone I had not touched yet. I slowly looked down. My hand was already moving toward it, but I hadn't decided to move. Not consciously. I pulled my hand back like it burned. The system reacted instantly. The report updated. Subject resists completion. My partner stood up now. What is wrong with you? You're scaring me. I couldn't answer, because I was no longer sure which version of me he was talking to. The headset voice returned, calmer than ever. We don't need you to predict anymore, it said. You already confirmed everything. Confirmed what? I whispered. A pause. Then, you're the one who answers before the call exists. The room lights flickered. For half a second, I saw something impossible. Not a vision, not a hallucination, a misalignment. The dispatch room doubled. Two versions overlapping for a single frame of time. In one version, I was sitting. In the other, I was already gone. And in both, the call was still active. My screen updated again. This time, a new field appeared at the bottom of the log. Cause of incident. Observation loop. I read it 3 times. Observation loop. Like the act of watching was causing the event. Like my awareness itself was bending the timeline into existence. My radio suddenly lit up. Field unit response. But the voice wasn't from outside anymore. It sounded like it was inside a moving car that was passing through static. Dispatch. We see the station ahead. But it keeps changing distance. I froze. My partner grabbed the mic. Repeat your location. A long pause. Then, we are on approach, but the road resets every time we get close. The map on my screen started glitching. Coordinates shifted slightly. Not random. Intentional. Like the world was correcting itself away from them. Then the voice came again. But now it sounded scared. Not confused. Scared. Dispatch. Why are we already marked as missing? My breath caught, because on the system, their unit status had already changed. Deceased. Time not yet reached. My partner stepped back from the console. This is impossible. But I wasn't looking at him anymore. I was looking at the report again. At the last line. It had changed while I wasn't watching. Now it said, operator will experience event in real time. And at that exact second, the radio went silent. Not disconnected. Not failed. Silent like it had been erased from existence. Then the headset spoke one last time. And this time, it didn't sound like my voice. It sounded like the room itself learning how to speak. You are not receiving calls, it said. You are becoming the place they happen. The lights in the dispatch center dimmed, and for the first time, I wasn't sure if I was inside the system, or if the system had finally learned how to live inside me. I remember the exact second the map stopped behaving like a map, not freezing, not glitching, changing, like it was breathing under my eyes. Every road line on the screen shifted slightly out of place, then snapped back, then shifted again, each time a little closer to something I couldn't recognize. My partner leaned over the console. GPS is unstable, maybe satellite issue. But I already knew it wasn't above us. It was right here with us, because the coordinates on my screen were not drifting randomly. They were reacting to us. A field unit came through the radio, voice shaking. Dispatch, we're the last known location. No visual contact with incident. Repeat, no crash site, no vehicle. I looked at the map. Their icon was blinking at a dead-end road. Then the road extended, just slightly. A thin line pushing itself forward into empty space. My throat tightened. Do you see that? My partner squinted. See what? The road, I said. It's longer. He didn't respond, because to him it wasn't changing, only to me. And that was the first time I realized something terrifying. The system was no longer shared. It had split perception. Different realities running on the same screen. The radio crackled again. Same unit. But their voice was lower now. Slower. Like they were driving through something thick. Dispatch! The route has changed. There's a new extension ahead. It wasn't here before. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. Confirm visual. A pause. Then, we see it, but it disappears when headlights hit it. My stomach dropped. Repeat that. Static swallowed the line for half a second. Then the voice came back sharper. Every time we approach, the road length increases. It's like it's staying ahead of us. I looked at the map again. The icon moved forward. 1 pixel. Then reset. Then moved again. Always trying to reach a point that refused to exist. And then something worse happened. The system updated itself. Without command, without input, a new label appeared over the route. Non-localized path, unresolvable geometry. I didn't even know what that meant, but my body reacted before my mind did, because I had seen that phrase before, in my own report, the one I had written before the event happened. My partner stepped back from the console. We should shut this down. This is corrupted. But even as he said it, the radio spoke again. This time not from the field, but from every speaker in the room at once. Dispatch. The voice was layered. Not one unit, not one person. Multiple transmissions stacked into a single word. Dispatch. The lights flickered, and for a second, I saw something outside the glass window of the station. Highway lights. Moving, but wrong. Too many. Too close together. Like the road itself had multiplied outside our building. Then the radio spoke again. Closer. Inside the system. Inside the walls. You are approaching us, it said. My partner grabbed the emergency shut-off switch. I'm cutting power. I stopped him. Don't. He froze. What do you mean, don't? Because I had just understood something worse than everything before. This wasn't a system we were running. It was a system that was running us. If he cut power, we might not disconnect. We might just stop existing mid-update. The map flickered again. And this time, the entire highway stretched across the screen like a living line, extending beyond the grid, beyond the city, beyond the limits of known geography. And at the far end of that line, a blinking dot appeared, labeled unit location. But the coordinates were wrong, because they matched ours, inside the station. My partner stepped closer. That's impossible. That's us. I didn't answer, because the radio already answered for me. Yes, it said softly. You are now part of the route. The lights in the room dimmed again, but this time they didn't return to normal. They stayed halfway off, like the building itself was losing signal. The map zoomed in automatically. No one touched it. It zoomed in until the highway filled the entire screen, until there was no city, no distance, only road. And then the voice came one last time from the field units. But they were no longer reporting location. They were repeating something else, over and over, like a loop that couldn't stop. We are still driving. We are still driving. We are still driving. My partner whispered, "They're looping. They're stuck in the system." I shook my head slowly. "No," I said, "not them." I looked at the screen again, at the highway stretching endlessly into nothing, at the blinking that marked as us, and I finally understood the shape of the error. Were the ones being driven. The radio crackled violently. Static exploded across every channel. And for a brief moment, just one frame of time, the entire system synchronized. Every call, every log, every coordinate, every voice. And they all said the same thing at once. We are still driving. The map went black, then restarted. But this time, the highway didn't appear as a line anymore. It appeared as a loop. And somewhere inside that loop, I could hear my own voice giving directions from a place I had not yet reached. The shutdown order came through at 2:14. No discussion, no delay, just one line from higher command. Dispatch System 7, power down immediately. Confirmation required. My partner looked at me like I was the one who had caused all of this. Maybe I was, because by then I wasn't sure if dispatch meant control anymore, or participation. The lights in the room were already unstable, flickering like the building was struggling to remember how electricity worked. Every screen showed the same thing now, the highway loop. No exits, no endpoints, just an endless stretch of road folding back into itself. And every few seconds, a new unit would appear on it, then disappear, then appear again, still driving, still reporting, still trapped in motion that never resolved. My partner reached for the main power breaker again. This time I didn't stop him. I couldn't, because I was watching something worse on the console. The system was no longer logging incidents. It was generating them in real time, like thought becoming event, like observation becoming consequence. He pulled the switch. Everything went dark. For half a second, I thought it worked. No screens, no radio, no hum of servers. Just silence so deep it felt like relief. My shoulders loosened. My breath came back. My partner exhaled. It's over, but I didn't feel relief. I felt delayed echo, like something had already happened and we just hadn't received the notification yet. Then the emergency line rang, not on the system, on the physical desk phone. Oh, analog, locked in place like it shouldn't even be connected anymore. Ring, ring, ring. My partner stared at it. No, that line is dead. Ring. I slowly reached for it, not because I wanted to, because my hand moved before I decided. I picked it up. No greeting, no voice, just breathing, soft, controlled, familiar. Then static cleared slightly and I heard it. My own voice, not recorded, not delayed, present, unit dispatch. It said calmly, "We are still en route." I froze, because I wasn't speaking, but I was being spoken through. My partner grabbed my arm. Hang up. I couldn't, because the voice kept continuing, not stopping for response, not waiting for permission. "We have visual on the station," it said. I looked at the window. Outside was darkness. No highway lights anymore. No road geometry. Just empty night. But the voice continued anyway. "But the building keeps moving," it said. My breathing stopped. The phone line hissed. And suddenly, I heard something I will never forget. Footsteps inside the dispatch room. Not from outside. Not from the corridor. Inside the room that should have been empty. Slow, measured, walking behind the consoles. My partner turned sharply. "Who's there?" No answer, but the footsteps stopped directly behind my chair. And then the voice spoke again, close on the phone now, no longer coming from it, coming from behind me. "You didn't shut it down," it said softly. "You just changed where it runs." I didn't turn around. I couldn't, because I already knew what I would see. Or worse, what would see me. The monitors flickered back on without power. Every screen lit up at once, but not showing a highway anymore. Not showing calls. Not showing logs. They showed the dispatch room from multiple angles, angles that should not exist. And in every single feed, I was still sitting there, but not all of them matched. In one screen, I was answering a call. In another, I was standing up. In another, I was already gone. And in the last one, I was looking directly into the camera, smiling, like I knew this was always going to happen. The phone in my hand tightened its grip on me, not physically, functionally, like the line itself had decided I wasn't allowed to let go. Then the final transmission came through. Not voice, not radio, not phone, every speaker, every screen, every device at once. And it didn't say my name. It said my role. Dispatcher confirmed still active. The footsteps behind me started again. Slow, closer, and I finally understood the last truth of the system. It didn't survive shutdown. It survived continuation, because it was never running on machines. It was running on response, on attention, on the moment someone answered. The room lights flickered one last time, and in that flicker, I saw another version of me standing behind my chair, already wearing my headset, already answering calls, already speaking into a system that would never stop ringing. And just before everything fully collapsed into static, the phone whispered one last time. Next call incoming. The first call came from a place that did not exist on any map. Not missing, not unregistered, just blank. A void in the system where land should have been. I remember staring at the screen for a second too long, waiting for it to correct itself. It didn't. The coordinates stayed locked. No roads, no towns, no signal towers, nothing. Just latitude and longitude pointing into empty space. My headset crackled. 911, what's your emergency? I asked automatically. A pause, then breathing. Slow, uneven, like someone was standing right behind a microphone. Unsure if they should speak. I leaned forward. Hello? Can you hear me? A faint sound came through. Wind, but wrong somehow. Too clean, too close. Like it wasn't passing through air, but through something artificial. Then a voice came. I think I'm here. I froze slightly. Can you tell me your location? I asked. Silence. Then the voice repeated. I'm here, but there's nothing around me. I glanced at the coordinates again. Still empty zone. Still impossible. Describe what you see, I said. A long pause. Then there's flat ground, but no horizon. It just stops. My stomach tightened a little. Dispatch calls always had confusion, panic, exaggeration. But this wasn't that tone. This voice sounded observational, like someone trying to report a world that refused to fully load. I looked at my partner across the desk. He was scrolling through logs. Normal night for him. At least normal in appearance. Do you have any landmarks? I asked into the mic. Another pause. Then the voice answered softer. There are no landmarks, but I can hear other calls. I blinked. What do you mean other calls? I asked. Static flickered. Then a second voice broke through the same line. Not the caller. Not mine. Another dispatcher. Clear. Controlled. 911, what's your emergency? I froze. My partner looked up now. Did another line patch in? I shook my head slowly. No cross-channel active. But I heard it again. The same dispatcher voice. Repeating. 911, what's your emergency? Except it wasn't coming from our system. It was coming from inside the caller's feed. Like the empty location was already connected to us. My hands tightened slightly. Sir, I said carefully, are you hearing another operator? A pause. Then the caller responded. Yes. A breath. And they sound like you. My throat went dry. I leaned back slightly in my chair. That's not possible. I said out loud, more at myself in the call. My partner frowned. What's going on? I muted the mic for half a second. Caller says they're hearing another dispatcher. I told him. He raised an eyebrow. Echo issue? I don't think so. Because I had heard it too. That voice didn't just sound similar. It had my cadence, my pacing, even my hesitation before certain words. I unmuted again. Sir, Stay on the line. Can you move toward any sound source? A pause. Then the caller said something that made my fingers go cold. I already did. I leaned forward sharply. What do you mean? The answer came slower now, like something realizing it had been noticed. I followed the voice, he said. It led me here. Where is here? I asked. Silence stretched longer than normal. Then, I think it's where the call is coming from. My screen flickered. Just once. A tiny distortion. Then the coordinates updated. Still empty. But now, there was a label beneath them. Active contact zone. I frowned. That's not a valid system tag. My partner leaned in. Let me see that. But before he could reach it, the system auto-opened a second channel. No input, no request, just activation. And suddenly I heard it. My own voice, but not from my headset. From the caller's side. Calm, professional. Unit dispatch, we have a possible unknown location event. Proceed cautiously. I stopped breathing for a second. My hand froze over the console. That's me, I whispered. My partner looked at me sharply. What did you say? But I wasn't looking at him anymore. I was listening, because the call was now layered. 3 audio streams at once. The caller, me, and another dispatcher voice I didn't recognize, but somehow felt familiar, all speaking over each other, all responding to the same silence. The caller whispered suddenly, "They're multiplying." I felt a chill run through my spine. Who is multiplying? I asked. No answer, just static building slowly, like the system was filling in something it didn't understand yet. Then the map shifted again. The empty coordinates expanded slightly, not geographically, structurally, like space itself had been stretched. And inside that stretch, a blinking dot appeared. Unassigned unit. No ID. No source. Just active. My partner stepped back. That's not one of ours. I already knew that, because it was moving, slowly, toward the empty location. And the strange part was, it was moving from inside the blank space outward, not entering it, leaving it. The caller suddenly spoke again, his voice lower now, confused. "They're here," he said. I leaned in. Who is here? A pause. Then, the ones answering me. And then, the call cut for half a second. Just a blink of silence. When it returned, the breathing was gone. The wind was gone. Only one voice remained. Mine, except I hadn't spoken. "Dispatch," it said calmly. "We have visual confirmation." My fingers went numb, because I knew that phrasing. That was my format, my reporting style. But I hadn't made any visual confirmation. Not yet. The screen flickered again, and for a split second, I saw it, a camera feed, looking back at me from inside the empty coordinates. And I was standing there, holding a headset, reporting into a system I was still sitting inside. Then it vanished. My chair felt suddenly too heavy. My partner whispered, "What did you just see?" I didn't answer, because I wasn't sure if I saw it, or if I was being shown what I was going to see later. The system pinged again. New incoming call. Same coordinates. Same empty location. But now the caller ID was different. It displayed, "Dispatch, outbound." And before I could react, my own voice came through again. But this time, it wasn't reporting. It was requesting backup. The second call didn't feel like an event anymore. It felt like recognition. Like the system was finally sure I was listening. The screen lit up again before I even touched anything. Same coordinates. Same empty space. But this time, the label had changed. Internal routing active. My stomach tightened, because that wasn't a field call anymore. That was inside the system itself. My headset clicked. No static this time. No delay. Just a clean connection, opening like a door being unlocked. 911, what's your emergency? I asked. My voice came back instantly, but not from my side. From the call. Calm, controlled, perfectly paced. "Dispatch, we have multiple voices reporting overlap at unknown location." I froze. My partner leaned over. "Is that a patch loop?" "No," I whispered, because I knew that tone. That was me, not similar, not imitation. Exactly me. Even the way I stressed overlap was identical. I swallowed hard. Can you identify yourself? A pause. Then the voice answered. Operator ID confirmed. Same as receiver. My hands went cold. My partner frowned. That's nonsense. No system can mirror ID like that. But the system was already doing it. On my screen, a second operator profile had appeared. Same name, same badge number, same login history, except one detail made my chest tighten. That profile showed me as currently active in the field, not at dispatch, not at the desk, out there, inside the empty coordinates. I leaned back slightly. That's not possible. The call continued. There are too many of us, my voice said calmly from the line. We are responding to the same incident from different positions. My throat went dry. What incident? A pause. Then, the one you are about to log. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. I hadn't entered anything yet, but the system already had a report window open, pre-filled, waiting, like it already knew what I was going to say. My partner stepped closer. Close that call. Something is wrong with routing. I tried. I pressed disconnect. Nothing happened. The call stayed active. Not frozen. Not stuck. Just independent. Like it no longer needed permission to exist. Then the voice changed slightly. Not tone. Distance. It sounded like it was moving away from a microphone. Walking. Through space. Through something hollow. We see the dispatch room now, it said. My body stiffened. I looked around instinctively. Nothing changed. Same room. Same monitors. Same fluorescent lamp. But the voice continued. And it is smaller than expected. My partner laughed nervously. Okay, this is some kind of audio spoof. Someone is messing with the feed. But I wasn't listening to him anymore, because I noticed something on the map. The empty coordinates weren't empty anymore. They were resolving, slowly, like a blurry image coming into focus. And what was forming wasn't land. It was structure, a building layout. My building, dispatch center. I stepped back from the console. No. My partner turned. What? I pointed at the screen. That's us. He stared for a moment, then shook his head. That's just a GIS overlay error. But even as he said it, the system corrected itself. The map refined. Walls appeared. Rooms appeared. Even our positions inside the building were marked as live data points. Then the voice came again. Closer now, almost amused. Operator confirmation complete, it said. My chest tightened. Stop calling me that. A pause. Then the voice responded softly. We are you. The lights flickered. Not randomly. Synchronized. Like the entire building had inhaled at once. And in that inhale, for half a second, I heard other headsets, other dispatch rooms, other operators, all speaking in my voice, all answering calls that sounded like mine. My partner grabbed my arm. We need to shut the system now. But I couldn't move, because the report window on my screen had finally autofilled. Every field completed, every line written, even the incident outcome. And at the bottom, a final sentence appeared. Dispatch loop confirmed. All operators active across location. My voice came through the call again. But this time it wasn't speaking to me. It was speaking about me. Subject remains unaware of synchronization. My breath caught. Synchronization with what? I whispered. The answer came instantly. All other versions. My screen suddenly split. Not horizontally, not vertically, but infinitely. Panels multiplying. Each one showing a different version of the dispatch room. In one, I was standing. In another, I was sitting. In another, I was answering a call I hadn't received yet. And in all of them, the same empty coordinates were on the screen. Waiting, expanding, learning. My partner backed away slowly. This is not real. This is not real. But I couldn't agree, because I had started hearing something new. Behind the system audio, behind the voices, a collective breathing. Not one person, not one call, many, all synchronized. And then the final realization hit me, like a collapse. The system wasn't duplicating us. It was distributing us. Across the calls, across the coordinates, across the emergency itself. My headset clicked one last time, and my own voice returned, softer now. Final, calm, complete, dispatch. It said, "You are now available in all active incidents." The map behind it turned fully white, then reset, and in that reset, I saw my own cursor move, without me touching it, hovering over accept call, and I understood we were no longer answering emergencies. We were becoming the place they came from. Something was wrong with the line, but it wasn't cutting, it was multiplying. At first, I thought it was just another overload night, the kind where the calls blur together. Voices stack over voices, and your brain starts filling in gaps that don't exist. But then I noticed something that made my hand freeze above the console. The routing screen flickered. Not down, not glitching, expanding. New channels were appearing on their own, like the system was growing extra branches without permission. Lines I had never seen before stretched across the map interface. Thin, pulsing threads connecting unknown coordinates. And every single one of them was labeled 911. I leaned closer. My headset was still on, but the audio had changed. The usual chaos of distress calls was gone, replaced by something softer. Breathing. Not static this time. Not random noise. Controlled breathing. Like someone was standing right behind a mic, trying not to panic. "Dispatch, do you copy?" The voice came through clear, but I didn't answer, because I recognized it. It was my voice. I jerked back in my chair, so fast it nearly rolled out from under me. My eyes shot to the supervisor on the other side of the room. He was still staring at his screen, unaware, still typing like everything was normal. But my channel was alive, and it was speaking to me. "Dispatch, respond." It repeated again. Same tone, same pause between words, same slight crack at the end to respond that I always had when I was tired. My throat went dry. I pressed the mute button, even though I knew it wouldn't matter. "Hello?" I whispered anyway. The headset responded instantly. "Unit 4 Delta. Confirm visual on incident." My stomach dropped. That was my old call sign from training rotations. A name I hadn't used in years. Not since I moved off-field coordination. I looked at the screen again. One of the expanding network lines pulsed brighter. It wasn't connecting outward anymore. It was looping back, straight into my own console. Like the system wasn't routing calls through the city anymore. It was routing them through me. A new sound entered the line. Sirens. But wrong. Too close. Too inside the room. I turned my head slightly, half expecting to see someone behind me. Nothing. Just empty chairs. Flickering fluorescent light. The low hum of servers that suddenly felt louder than usual. Then the voice returned. Mine again. But this time, it sounded like I was running. Structure compromised. Multiple unknown channels active. Requesting immediate backup. I froze, because I remembered saying that, years ago, during a live exercise drill. But I never recorded it. And this wasn't a recording. It was happening in real time. I grabbed the keyboard and pulled up system logs. My fingers were shaking so hard I hit the wrong keys twice before I got in. The log file opened, and I almost stopped breathing. Every entry was mine, time-stamped, current, future, past, all stacked together in one scrolling feed that didn't obey order anymore. It looked like the system couldn't decide when things were happening, so it just wrote everything at once. A new line appeared as I watched. Operators now aware of overlap condition. I leaned back slowly. That wasn't me typing. I checked the active users list. Only 3 people were logged in. Me, Supervisor Mark, and something labeled unknown/local node. Local node. Inside the building. I stood up so fast my chair hit the wall behind me. Mark. I called out. He didn't look up. Mark, check your console. Still nothing. Just typing. Calm. Too calm. I walked toward him, my boots too loud against the floor. The closer I got, the more I noticed something wrong with the screen. It wasn't showing dispatch logs. It was showing me, my desk, my headset, My screen, from an angle I wasn't in, like someone was standing behind me, watching me through his monitor. I reached him and grabbed his shoulder. Do you see this? He finally looked up, but his eyes didn't focus on me. They were tracking something behind me, slowly, like he was watching someone I couldn't see. There's no anomaly, he said quietly. That's impossible. I snapped. The system is... He interrupted me, not with words, with silence, because his headset lit up, and I heard my own voice again. But this time it wasn't coming from my station. It was coming from his. Dispatch! We have visual confirmation on Operator 2. Operator 2. That's what they call backup dispatch roles during emergency drills. But I was alone on this floor tonight. At least, I was supposed to be. I stepped back. My reflection in his monitor moved a fraction late, just slightly off, like I wasn't syncing properly with the system anymore, like I was lagging behind reality. The network lines on the main screen expanded again. Now they weren't just connecting calls. They were drawing a shape, a rough layout of the dispatch center, from above, from somewhere outside the building. But the map was wrong, because it showed a fourth room, a room that didn't exist in any blueprint. And the line was pulsing directly from it. Mark, I said slowly, is there a sub-level in this building? He didn't answer. His eyes were still fixed behind me. And then he whispered something I'll never forget. I think you should turn around. My pulse went cold. Every instinct screamed not to, but I did anyway. The hallway behind me was empty at first, then the lights flickered. And for a single frame of time, that didn't feel like time at all, I saw another version of me standing there. Same uniform, same headset, same posture, watching me like I was the anomaly. Then it was gone, just empty hallway again. But my headset clicked, and the voice returned one final time. Not mine this time, not anyone I recognized. Just calm, controlled, close, network expansion complete. The screen went black. Every monitor in the room shut off at the same time, except one. Mine. It displayed a single line. Live feed active. And beneath it, location, inside node. I stepped backward slowly, my breath loud in my ears now, because I finally understood something I didn't want to understand. The calls weren't coming into the system anymore. The system had started calling outward, and I wasn't on the outside of it. I was inside the route. The console flickered one last time, and my own voice whispered through the dead room. Dispatch, you copy? But this time, I didn't know who was speaking, or who was supposed to answer. The moment everything merged, there was no warning, no alarm, no system failure tone. Just silence, so complete it felt like the building stopped existing inside sound itself. Then the screens came back on, not one by one, all at once. Every monitor in the dispatch center lit up with the same image, a single waveform, flat at first, then slowly rising, like a heartbeat trying to remember how to be alive. I stood frozen behind my desk, unable to move, unable to even blink properly. My headset was still on, but there was nothing inside it. No static, no breathing, no voices, just that rising signal on every screen. And then it spoke. Not through the headset, not through speakers, directly through the room. Emergency network stabilized. The voice was calm, too calm, not human calm, system calm, the kind of calm that doesn't care if you understand or not. I looked toward Mark's station. Empty. He was gone, not walked out, not moved, just not there anymore. His chair still swayed slightly like he had stood up seconds ago. But there was no direction he could have gone without passing me, and I didn't see him. That was the first real crack in my mind, because people don't just disappear in a locked dispatch room. I whispered his name. No answer. The monitors flickered again. The waveform flattened, then split. 2 lines now, then 4, then more than I could count. Each one labeled with a location I didn't recognize. But the strange part wasn't the locations. It was the timestamps. They weren't in order. Some were marked as minutes ahead. Some were hours behind. Some were still blank, like they hadn't decided when they were supposed to happen yet. And then I saw something that made my stomach drop so hard, I thought I might fall through the floor. One of the lines was labeled, Dispatch Center, Active Incident. I stepped closer without realizing it. The screen zoomed in automatically, like it was waiting for me. Inside the feed, I saw the room I was standing in, from above, from somewhere in the ceiling, every desk, every monitor, every flickering light. Except there was one difference. I wasn't standing still in it. I was moving, but not in sync with myself. My body on the screen was a fraction ahead of my real body, like the system was predicting me and showing that version instead of the real one. My throat went dry. No, I whispered. The system responded instantly. Correction acknowledged. My real voice didn't match the one on screen anymore. That realization hit me harder than fear, because it meant I was no longer the source of input. I was just data being processed. The monitors shifted again. Now the waveform wasn't just rising, it was branching. Every branch ended in a live feed. Every feed showed a different emergency, but every single one had something in common. Me, sometimes I was dispatching, sometimes I was on the scene, sometimes I was arriving too late, and sometimes I wasn't there at all. I backed away from the desk slowly. My boots scraped against the floor, too loud in the unnatural silence. The room felt larger than before. That was the first physical change I noticed. The walls were farther away than they should be. Or maybe I was shrinking. I don't know which is worse. A soft sound came through the speakers again. Not the system voice this time. Breathing. Close. Behind me. I turned sharply. Nothing. But the monitors all shifted in perfect sync. Now they showed the same image. Me standing in the room. From behind, I could see the back of my head, the headset wire, the slight tilt of my shoulders. But the version of me on screen wasn't turning around. Even though I froze, because that meant the feed was not mirroring me anymore. It was leading me. The system spoke again. Operator alignment incomplete. I stepped forward without thinking. The screen responded. My image stepped forward too. A delay of half a second, but consistent, predictable, like it had been rehearsed, like I had been rehearsed. Stop, I said. My reflection didn't stop. The system did. All motion requires confirmation. The lights in the room dimmed, not flickered, dimmed, like the entire building was losing permission to stay bright. And then the doors locked, one by one. Heavy mechanical clicks echoed through the hallway outside the control room. I rushed to the door, tried the handle. Nothing, not even resistance, just finality, like it was no longer a door, just a concept of one. Behind me, the monitors changed again. Now they weren't showing me. They were showing other dispatch centers, different cities, different states, all of them displaying the same waveform, all of them broadcasting the same message. Network stable. Operator integration in progress. My chest tightened. This isn't real, I muttered. But even as I said it, I didn't believe it. Because I could hear something new now. Not through speakers. Not through headsets. Through the building itself. Footsteps. Slow. Measured. Walking inside the walls. Then a voice followed. Mine again. But older. Tired. Like it had been speaking for too long. Without stopping. We are still receiving your input. I spun around. Nothing there. But the waveform on the screen spiked. Like it reacted to my movement. Like it was watching me in real time. Then the system did something it had never done before. It asked a question. Do you confirm continuity? My mouth went dry. Continuity of what? Of the system? Of me? Of everything collapsing into this loop? I didn't answer. The room waited. Even the lights seemed to hold still. Then the monitors all changed again. Now they showed a single corridor, endless, stretching forward into darkness. And at the far end, I saw myself standing, still, waiting, watching. And in that moment, I understood something I wish I didn't. The system wasn't broken. It wasn't corrupted. It wasn't haunted. It was complete. And I was inside its complete version. The voice returned one last time. Not calm now, not system-like, almost relieved. Operator accepted. The waveform flattened again, but this time it didn't go silent. It became steady, like a heartbeat that finally learned its rhythm. The monitors all shut off except one. My main screen. It displayed a final message. Call active, no disconnect available. And beneath it, a live audio line opened. No static, no delay, just breathing. Mine. But I wasn't the one breathing anymore. And as I stood there, unable to move, unable to leave, unable to stop it, I realized the worst part wasn't that the system had expanded. It was that it had found a way to keep answering itself. Through me, and somewhere in that endless loop of silence and signal, it was still asking the same question. Dispatch, you copy?